Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in today. Welcome to Power Platform today. I have got with me the wonderful Carl Cookson, and I will bring him on now. Hello, Carl. Introduce
Hey,
yourself, please, to the audience.
hey, nice to see you. Nice to be here with everybody. A great, lovely day here in the UK, and hopefully it is wherever you are.
Thank you very much. So, Carl, how did you get into Power Platform community? That's where I like to start. So, what's the beginnings for you?
Um, Beginnings when I joined one of my previous organisations, and started embracing it. My kids started at senior school, and I had ended up with some more spare time and more passion for changing career from I was a pivotal developer for those that know other CRMs apart from just Microsoft back in the day. And when I joined the role that was migrating to CRM, I just got involved in the UK community that was in the Reading office by just attending and sort of just making faces, seeing faces that I knew and connecting to them. And then when I joined my other companies, Avanade was my next step. At that point, um, I tried to get into various speaking gigs, but then got selected for the European Dynamics user group in Amsterdam,
Cool.
which was with a colleague of mine. And that was my first speaking slot, really. And didn't know anyone really. And I remember him and I, my colleague, basically following Mark Smith around because we thought that Mark Smith would know where to hang out,
Yep.
what the cool kids were doing,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So was basically stalked Mark for a couple of nights, as I remember, before my talk on Alexa and connecting Alexa to field service. I think it
Oh,
was,
really?
and Alexa's just gone off in my son's room, so I don't mention her again.
Nice. There's probably a few others in the audience if they've got it on their speakers. Nice. Well, that's really interesting. The idea of stalking someone around a conference, actually, that rings true. So I've spoken to other people about me and conferences. I find I'm quite awkward in a conference, even if I know a bunch of people. It's still quite an intimidating space. And when I first went, so the first one I went to was D365 Saturday in Dublin. And I was specifically going there actually to essentially do a job interview, but also
Mm.
to go to the event because it was there and it was interesting. And in doing that, I met Mark Christie. He was one of the first people I met at the conference. And at that time, he was talking about doing something in Scotland. And after just talking to him a while, him and Ian, I said, "Oh, yeah, no, I'd be up for that. That would be interesting." And that's essentially how I started my speaking. Because next year I then spoke at Scottish Summit. But that first conference, I kind of just followed him about, and
Mm.
then Chris later on, Chris Huntingford. I ran into him at some point, and he was drunk because it was at the end of the event, and he was at that time railing against the MVP program because he
Yeah.
was on that at that time, and it was an amazing whirlwind of different people on that particular one. And then when it came to Scottish Summit, because I was a speaker, I wasn't quite as I didn't have to stalk as many people. I felt a little bit more at home in some ways, but I still did because Jonas was there. And I mean, why would you not stalk him? He's amazing.
Mm.
So I spent ages with him at that conference. He really is a good guy.
Yeah.
Really good guy. Cool.
And that's the same with me. I'm an introvert, really. I don't like speaking to new people. I won't go. I'm not the best person to go and introduce myself and have that startup conversation. But when I know people, I'm really quite outgoing and center of it all, really, in terms of being loud and brash, etc. But I don't like meeting new people. And that's you know a lot of that has come about and known in the community, but just by ensuring talking to people and bringing people through that journey, because I can see a lot of other people are the same.
Hmm.
It's making sure you're making those connections and being trying to break down the barriers. Because I can see certainly that outsiders that are on a are not in will probably see it quite cliquey and a bit
Yeah.
closed up. And it certainly isn't that way. People have certainly embraced what we want to, just be there and talk. I think will be the easiest way of getting to know us. And as soon as you're accepted, which is very easy to be accepted, um, people just see you as one of the crowd and will embrace you at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is interesting reflecting on that because whenever you go to conferences and you see people out there that maybe you watch on various videos because they stream things, maybe they do a lot of presentations, maybe they're all over the place, maybe they've been in a blog that you've been reading, or like it is for Jonathan, even yourself, the tools in the XRM toolbox, you see the name, and so when you
Mm,
meet them, it's like wow, it's like a superstar kind of superstar
yeah,
celebrity almost. But as a result, that does mean that some people do get a lot of attention at a conference, and it's hard to make that first step if you want to. So it is a tricky one because there are people as well. Like for instance, at AgentCon just recently in Manchester. So I went to that. It was at the ANS buildings,
mm,
and Chris and Donna were doing the keynote and a few
mm,
loads of other things. Now, I wanted to catch up with Chris because I do know him and it would just be good to catch up with him, but I
mm.
just didn't catch him at any
Right.
point during the day because he was always busy with someone else. I was always talking to other people. I met new people. It was all fine. But that's the thing. Even though you might want to do it, just the very nature of the fact that there's so many people of these things,
Yeah.
you might not actually. Um, yeah, cool.
And I think you're right though, because people do hold other people at a higher level.
Mm,
Chris, Donna, all those that are, the fundamental pillars of our community, that are the leaders, are the most out there. Um, if you get them in a room, they will be the first people to drag people over and chat and make those connections.
yeah,
And don't want to see it as a clique, don't want to see it as a closed club, because they know what that's like. They've
hmm
both been through that, and probably the same as everybody else, want to make sure it's always open and make sure that we're bringing people forward and um, encouraging people to participate. Jonas is another one that I got so much help, even though I didn't know him, from discussing XRM Toolbox and asking him questions
yeah,
before I knew him. Really, and the first time I met, I'd spoken to him before his illness, but the first time I met him was after his illness. So, and he was doing a talk at South Coast Summit
Oh, were you at that
on
talk?
yeah,
Wow.
on his journey and
Yeah.
the way that he's changed his life, and was just coming back to working again, and
hmm
still suffering physically and mentally because of the stroke he had. And it's sort of opens your eyes into, it's not just all about the tech, it's about friendships, it's
Yeah.
about relationships, it's about being there for each other, and not being a dick. I don't know if I'm not allowed to swear, but
Yeah, you're
just
absolutely fine.
not being, just being a friend, like you'd want to be treated the same way as you'd want to be treated. And that's about the essential thing that we've got going on in our community.
Yeah.
We're really just around um, driving towards fostering growth, really. And
Yeah.
even for someone like me that's probably at the end of that career path, really, seeing new kids come through, new people that are really driven and really passionate about it, is such a thrill.
hmm
And as much as I can to help them along the way, I will do, because I love to see new faces come through that have got such great talent.
Yeah. I'm interested in terms of the your sort of involvement in the community. I know you've been attending for a long time. I know that you create tools. I know that you do help behind the scenes at a number of different conferences. I wonder if people out there actually know how much you actually do support a lot of events out there. What are
That's
you
on
involved
purpose
in?
though. That's
Yeah.
not. I don't. I'm not the character that will. I've not got an ego.
Mm,
I haven't got any want to be in front stage. I'd rather Mark and Aaron and Nathan and Matt now in Scotland take the
yeah.
leadership. Matt and Zoe take the leadership and take the front face. And I'm quite happy to sit in the background and helping do these things. Organising and helping with South Coast currently, just gone through the speaker selection, and then on the day just helping out and making sure things are running smoothly,
Hmm.
taking some of the pressure off those, and going to be helping out more with Matt Beard, who's doing the UK users group at the Manchester Arm. So we're doing a day long event in Manchester, middle of September.
Oh,
Call for
nice.
speakers is out at the moment. At the UA 92, the Manchester near the Old Trafford, where we've been a couple of times before,
Hmm.
which is a great venue for what we try to do.
Cool.
So just to get it away from London based,
Yeah.
um, there is such a big community up in the north of England, which is where I'm from originally. So it feels like I'm going home a little bit when I do go up there.
Nice. Just on that one, is that so? It's an all-day event. Is it during the week? Is it the weekend? What is that?
Yeah, no, it's during the week. It's
Okay.
Wednesday or Thursday, I think. I can't remember the date. You'll have to put it in the show notes or whatever you do.
I'll
I'm
definitely look
finding
it
it.
up after. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I might just make it down for that one because I've been. It's nice to be able to get out for anything where I can get away for a day. So
Yeah,
that
'cause
would be one I should be
Edinburgh
able
to
to do.
Manchester is not that bad, is it?
Yeah, it's 4 hours driving,
Yeah.
but it's. I did it just recently, as I said, for the Agent Con one. So I left early in the morning, got there for 10 o'clock, and then left. I think something like 6 o'clock. Got home for just a little after 11. It's a long day, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm okay with that. It works for me, and it means that it doesn't impact the family as much. This is the whole thing. I'm in that mode where it's very much the work life balance I have
Mm,
to find, because
absolutely.
yeah, as we were talking about beforehand, you're a little bit ahead on that journey. Mine's only 6, but yours are traveling the world together.
Yeah, I was up at 3 this morning. They've just gone to Barcelona from Gatwick this morning at 7 a.m. and are going from Barcelona to Rome on several trains over the next 20 odd days together, stopping in hostels in Florence and Milan and
Nice.
Nice, I think, and other places I don't remember. Not in that order, I don't think either. So I'm not sure. I've got a route somewhere, but yeah, they really. It's the end of A levels for my youngest,
Mhm.
first year university for my eldest. So they've sort of embraced it and really hoping to see some of Europe and see something different than where we live.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to do that. I don't know if you took certainly in the UK we call it a gap year. I don't know if the rest of the world does the same sort of concept. I never did, but in effect I sort of did because I went working. I went to uni straight
Yeah,
from school, found that it didn't work for me. I just wasn't ready to study. Ended up going working, and I ended up working in a cinema, doing like trainee stockbroker, worked in a call center, and then was like, nope, I have to go back to uni. This is terrible.
yeah. Well, I did have a year out, but I was very lucky to back. This is so I've just turned 50 this year. So what we're talking about is 32 years ago, which is probably older than most of the people that are up and coming now. I could certainly be their dads or even their granddads, some of them, I guess. But so I got sponsored by the MOD for a year. So I spent a year in Malvern learning how what soldiers put their kit through, whether it was
Oh wow.
soldiers or Navy or the RAF. So they were basically training us to be the next bunch of engineers and scientists and for the MOD. So yeah, I spent a year in Malvern and around and about, going up and down the country and seeing tanks, inside of tanks and inside of submarines and inside of army bases, etc., and working out what they did with their weapons, why they had to be so robust and what special circumstances they put them through. So that was a year out for me. And then I spent 3 weeks in Thailand with a group of friends, which was definitely eye-opening. So yeah.
I can imagine. Let's not talk too much about that one. I'm
No, no,
interested in
no,
the
maybe not.
MOD one though. How did you end up with the MOD? Was that like a specifically an out of school type program type thing? Was
Yeah,
it?
it back in the day when there was lots of money going around and lots
Hmm.
of training and there was these programs that basically took wannabe engineers that were going to university and put them through this so that they could have an idea of what the limitations were and why,
Okay.
just to try and get a group of people that would then start being the next group, not to be like enlisted, but to be like the designers of the next, bits and pieces for the MOD, whether it was electronics in my case or mechanical stuff.
Cool. And did you take that any further after that in any way?
No, no, not really. I came out of university with electronic engineering degree, and then my first job was software developer. So I learned software, I learned Visual Basic. I see in my university days, and
Hmm.
then learned Visual Basic in my first job. So and then that sort of snowballed into where I am now, really.
Cool. So going back to the sort of community and the events side of things, and sort of starting that in the last 5, 6 so years, what, how did you start getting involved in the supporting and helping events? Was that just because you naturally wanted to do that, or did someone ask? How did you get involved there?
It was just that. It was just, I think it's just a bit of osmosis, really, just being in and around and getting friendly with the people that are organising it
Hmm.
and stepping up when they say, "Oh, we want some volunteers for." And that was the first thing for a lot of these things. It was just being there on the day to push people between rooms or whatever else, and it sort of snowballs in terms of being there when people want to do it and being friendly with the people that are organising it. So, you know, uh, the Manchester Mark and Ian at Scottish Summit are good friends of mine, and supported them in various guises along the way. And now I'm probably taking a bit more of a step up when Matt and Zoe take up the reins, but no, never in the front of it. So we'll see how that pans out next year. And with South Coast, it was very much. I didn't really know Aaron and Nathan that well, but I think we were connected. And because I was down south, as it were, um,
Hmm.
sort of was rung for the original South Coast Summit, and then they've moved it from the Aegeus Bowl to the conference centre at Farnborough, which is 5 minutes from my house. So it really is an easy one for me to get to and to get involved with. And which was 2 years ago, and we're just going for the cycle of that now. So we're just on the speakers, going to be announcing them this week,
Hmm.
and then moving on to make sure everyone's happy and organised and do the slide decks and all those other good things that speakers need,
Hmm.
to make sure that we're running a good show, really. And they're very different events, right? Mark
Hmm.
is very much driven from the community, and the South Coast is a bit more commercial, a bit
Yeah.
more sponsor driven than the
Hmm.
others, because of the venues they've got and various things that are going on. The location, it's not cheap down south, compared to anywhere else, so it does get more expensive, and therefore you need a bit more support from sponsors and all the rest of them.
That's quite interesting. So we've talked. I've talked to people in the past that run user groups and have started user groups. In fact, the Reading one you mentioned Reading earlier. So Areti I spoke to
Hmm.
started the Reading along with some others. Um, so the user groups, a lot of people have said there's a lot of involvement, a lot involved in that. Again, it's ongoing. So every month or every quarter when you want to do it, so you're constantly
Hmm.
on the lookout for speakers. You need people to support on the day, but certainly order of magnitude, it's smaller than a conference, I would say. But
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are aware of what goes on behind the scenes in these things. So can you talk a little bit towards like what's involved in running these conferences? Like, okay, so Scottish Summit, in theory, I assume it's coming back next year. So South Coast is just about to come up this
Hmm.
October, but Scottish Summit will be next year. Is there already talks and plans involved in that now?
Yeah, absolutely. So Scottish Summit, we've got the venue, we know where we're going. We've got a lot of stuff that Zoe and Matt are dealing with finances and the venue booking and just teeing it up. It doesn't really start in anger until would be next December, December, January time. Probably
Mm,
it's probably after the South Coast finishes when we'll
yeah,
start really in anger. And it'll just be divvying up the jobs that need to be doing. Someone needs to book the food, someone needs to sort this out. And there is a wide team for sort of Scottish with Paddy and others that are helping it along the way that are going to be doing a lot of the work on that. And whatever role I get, whether it's tech, just to looking after the website, or the admin, or whatever else, I'll be quite happy to support them on it.
mhm,
And but there is an awful lot to it, because there is the expectation. It's the history of the event. It's the
mm,
things that have happened before that sort of drive the way that you work it going forward. There's dealing with the venue, but dealing with the speakers and making sure the workshops and promotions and all. There's so much marketing compared to a local user event, I would
yeah,
suggest. So we've got to really keep an eye out for all of those things. Um, but it is not every month. So, I can see that local user groups is probably a bit more consistent, a little lower level, but more consistent. And
yeah,
so it's quite nice to have a break. And I think like this year for me, just EPPC in Austria recently was my last one, and I feel quite worn out from it all. So I'm really looking. I've not done anything community since then, and I don't plan to until Nordic. I think is the first one. Oh, it might be that night Manchester one actually in
mm,
September.
yeah. Oh, thank you for coming on the show then.
No,
There's a
no,
nice
it's
little,
fine. Yeah, it's a
nice
bit
little chat in
different. It's
between.
only a chat, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah. That's why I like to keep it nice and relaxed and informal because I think for me, it's what I like about this is it's talking to different people in the community, their different perspectives, how they got into it. But for other people out there that want to get involved, like it's knowing that they can. I think there's been a
Yeah.
few different people I've spoken to where uh, they've had different routes into things. Like Bibby was interesting. So when I had Andrew Bibby on, he was talking about when he got involved. The very first sort of times he got involved, it was all in attending user groups. So for him, he wasn't comfortable doing any presenting or anything like that. He just attended, and through that, he got to know everyone and got more comfortable. And then eventually, he did do
Mm.
presenting because someone essentially said, "You should do this. Go and do this."
Yeah.
And other people will just leap headfirst in, like me, where I actually felt more comfortable doing that because, like I said before, I feel so awkward in a group that actually being a speaker is much easier for me because I can just
Mm.
do that and then I have a purpose for being there. For me, that makes a lot more sense, and everyone's different. So it's just
Yeah.
interesting that there's different routes into what to do. And I talk a lot about events and speaking, but you don't even have to do that. Like the tools, so that's a nice
Yeah.
natural segue into things. So how many XRM Toolbox tools have you got?
I think it's a 7 or 8 at the moment. I haven't really been involved in that for the last year or so. Each of those have been a way of me fixing a problem that I've already got. And I think
Mm,
that's the same with anyone that does YouTube content or writes blogs. It's like record what I found so that somebody else doesn't have to do the same. And
yeah.
each of the tools was my way of making sure that I've got a problem, usually at work or whatever, that I need to solve, and I've used the XRM toolbox to solve it, and the framework it provides to solve it. So the first one being org settings tool, which was still is, if
That's
you've
you,
got,
is it?
yeah.
Jeez, I need to.
The version that's in the XRM toolbox, yeah, it is. So that's based off a version you can get a solution from Sean, I think his name is, who works for Microsoft,
Mhm.
McNellis. That there is a solution that you can install, but mine obviously does it without the solution, so you don't have to do any of the work there, which allows you to tweak some of the very not convoluted technical settings that Microsoft might tell you to change. So you wouldn't go and do that without having a support ticket to support you, or
Yeah.
know what you're doing. But it's changing the way that email works, or delays the time that things happen, and things that they do, not to every environment, but to single environments that will have a specific issue and need.
Yeah.
And some of those things are well documented and available on the website, and some of them aren't. But that tool was effectively my way of not needing that solution. So, you'd have to install a solution in prod to go and change your environment settings,
Yeah.
which I thought was a bit cumbersome. So there is ways of doing that. And then from there, so that was solving that problem, that, we were restricted about what we could install in prod, rightly so. And it was only for a one-time thing. You would install it and then you could take it away again once the setting was made. So we got around it by doing the XFrame Toolbox tool, solving that need. And then the other ones that was, as a consultant, we were always asked for entity relationship diagrams as part of the process. So I created a tool for that. So creating entity relationship diagrams out of your structures in Dataverse and putting it into a Visio. And there's probably a few things that have come out that Visio way. So the flow, so you can document a flow, and the same with BPFs and your agents, your Copilot Studio agent nowadays, you can document them. So it was just a need that some of the things that you're doing as a consultant that you would take hours doing, and trying to reduce that to minutes, effectively.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that people out there that might be listening to this don't realize, or maybe haven't thought of. A big part of just giving back to the community is actually just documenting what you've done, exactly as you've described. I mean, and do it in whatever way works for you. I mean, some people like to blog, some people like to write in general, some people just like to put it on LinkedIn. YouTube is out there. There's all sorts of different ways of getting it out there. I personally feel it's very important to do it, because one thing, it could be for yourself. So it literally can be, as you say, you're scratching your own itch. I know that some people that have blogged that I've spoken to in the past, they blog for their own memory. It's a record. It's a record of what they've done, so they come back to it later on. I certainly have done that in the past. And then others, it's a way of forcing them to learn and think about things. That's one of the things I do for my other stream, where I'm streaming creating a Canvas app. And a part of that is just because I don't do Canvas enough in my work, that I want to actually delve into it more, and also look at that transition from as a citizen dev or a maker to pro dev. What's the difference? Why should people care? And so that's my way of doing it. So I like streams. I like live streams. It's the way I do it, but everyone could do it in different ways. I think that's the thing. Just get out there and do it.
And I certainly, I back in my early days, I tried to do like subjects in 3 minutes video, and failed miserably after about 5 or 6, because it took 3 or 4 hours to edit it down to 3 minutes. And it's just like, that was just tedious. I just couldn't do it on a regular basis. And I think you've got to find your own way of doing these things. You've got to find your own way, your own passion. Some people that you talk to, just want to do their 9 to 5, and if that's their work-life balance, that suits them, that's fine. Some people have got more want to do, learn and keep learning and push themselves, and if you find an outlet for that benefits other people, I think that's the best in the world, really. And it really does support you on your journey, and it helps you get that next step, etc., because it shows you're willing to participate and willing to share. And when you're going through the ranks of from maker all the way through to architect, etc., it's all about being able to share and knowing where to look, and knowing all these things that are not just your day job, that you've got a broader view on life, and know who to ask is a lot of the all those sort of thing is key to this journey as well.
Yeah, I think that's because that's the other side of it as well. And again, I've spoken to people in the past on this idea. Community is not just about the people that stand up and, as you say, in front of the audience. There's the people behind that are supporting, but there's also the consumers. So there's people out there that are reading blogs, watching videos,
Mm.
using that information, and they can also give back even by doing that in simple ways such as commenting, sharing, but also feedback in tools. Now, this is something
Yeah,
interestingly. I did the XRM Toolcast podcast years ago when
yeah,
it was Jonas and Daryl Labar. And on there, one of the things they said was, please give us feedback. Like it was one of the, it just was, we need feedback. We don't know if the tools are right or not. We continue to
yeah,
develop it because we use it in a certain way. But without the feedback or the bugs or anything else coming through, they can't solve those things. So
yeah.
they're always asking for feedback.
And that's, I've got a couple of examples. One of them was today. Well, last night I got a message from someone on uh, GitHub that
Mhm.
raised an issue with my BPF Divisio, that it wasn't working in the new version. I hadn't touched it for a year, and I spent 10 minutes today rebuilding it for the new version of XRM Toolbox and published it. And it was just an immediacy from being told, because I haven't used it,
Yeah.
um, and I don't have the vanity to look at my stats and really dig deep into how it's being used. If someone's got a problem, just raise it. And the other one of that is I've got the Mockaroo Data Manager. I don't know whether you've seen that one, where there's a site called Mockaroo which will create data for you.
Hmm.
It's a free API. Just have to register, and you can create 100,000 records a day or something.
Jeez.
And it's got a load of data sets like car registration numbers or emails, addresses connected to people. So you can really flesh out a person or an organization or whatever data set you need, which is
Hmm.
great for test environments and
Yeah.
proof of concepts, all those sort of things. And I've done a tool that wraps around that so that you can say, I want to create 100,000 companies with this data and create it in a in a clickable way.
Nice.
Um, and it was working fine, but Matt Beard basically improved it 50 or 60% because he's such an intelligent
Data
guy,
jobs.
and he deals with data
Yeah.
on his day job in and out of things. And so he basically rewrote what I did to do the data import by using all the the latest batch mechanisms and everything else, and added some switches to ignore the plugins and all those sort of things
Hmm.
that are easy to do, but I just never used it in anger that way.
Yeah.
But he did a pull request, so he went on beyond where I was, which is basically said, look, this is the fixes that you need to do. This is the code that I built and I've tested it. You just need to click a button and merge it in, and it works, and it did. And because these tools, most of them are open source,
Hmm.
it's a very easy way to help out. Do a pull request, and make that tweak to the code and do it yourself. And that's another way that companies are using them, that they'll need to do that security tech, because it is, it could be malicious, and
Yeah.
they aren't. But from a security point of view, people are looking at them. So people are building the codes out of the source, and that's all fine and good. But give back if you're doing that. If you've made a tweak that helps out, create a pull request and see if the author wants to drag it in. And I did that on some of the tools that I've done. I've some of the tools that I've come across that worked and then stopped working for whatever reason, because they're not supported by Microsoft. Microsoft might have changed the endpoint or whatever else that goes on.
Hmm.
Um, and I've added, a couple of my tools are joint tools with other people, where we've basically got it working again and moved it on.
Yeah.
So all those things are possible, and if you don't have to start from a fresh idea or have a fresh idea, just tweak something that's there and help out in that way, if that's what you want. Or blog or video. I certainly can't do video. I have done some blogging, um, and for me, I'm happiest in the tools. That's where I'd rather dig deep and go technical, and because I enjoy it.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing you've got to make sure you do is have a passion for it.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're not dreading going to do that video, dreading to create that blog because you feel you have to
Yeah.
do something that you enjoy, because it's, you know, it's only 24 hours a day and you've got to juggle your work life balance to whichever way you suits you.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a really important point. Is it's not about your passion; it's about what you like doing. And if you want to do it, then it's obviously it stands to reason that if you enjoy doing something, you're more likely to do it more. So
Yeah,
it's much easier to do that. Like that example of you doing the 3 minute videos and then having the 4 hour editing. I feel your pain there because
yeah,
editing is a hell that is just horrible. I hate it. I've always hated it, even back down to like I still remember writing like essays at uni. I never edited. Literally, all
no,
I would do was like a stream of consciousness. I'd do a lot of research ahead of time. I'd have loads of tabs open on my browser. I'd crash a few browsers. I would lose track of all my notes, finally find them all again, write it all up and hand it in. That's it. I didn't touch it again. I hated doing that. So now it's you got to find your strength, the thing that you
yeah,
can get
exactly that,
behind.
exactly that.
Cool. So when you're not power platforming and doing all the techie stuff, what else do you do?
Um, well, yeah, apart from going to conferences, yeah, entertain my sons, my wife. I've yeah, do a lot of just trying to be social, walks and that and social life. But yeah, I was telling you earlier that in my student days, I went to university in Guildford, still live around Guildford, and I was the stage manager for uh, the university for a couple of years, which involved putting shows on and uh, bands, discos, raves, whatever else. And that's still around. That's because of those connections. I help out on the Guildfest, which is a medium-sized festival in Guildford, in the middle of Guildford. So I was doing that this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, all day,
Cool.
helping out, putting on acts. We had a load of uh, not support acts. We had Oasis, but not definitely Oasis they were called. And we had the Spice Girls, but not. We had Led Zeppelin, but not.
Nice.
And you know, and it just to see certainly the Spice Girls that so many young people knew all the words, knew
Yeah.
every single word of every song. It was great to see, you know, a couple of thousand people in front of the stage, jumping up and down and singing along to um, all the songs that the Spice Girls did, and all the rest of the artists. We had some original artists as well there as well, which was great to see. And it's just that music passion is certainly there for me. I love going to gigs.
Cool.
I love going wherever. My sons have both got that rock from me, so they're just gone to a concert in Barcelona. Like I was saying, that first night in Barcelona, they just showed me pictures of them at a Wonder Horse gig, who
Nice.
are a UK rock band who were at Glastonbury. They've seen them in Alexandra Palace, which is a 20,000 seat
Hmm.
person, and then they've just seen them in a 700 seater venue with
Wow, that's a difference.
second row. So they were really really enjoyed that. It looks like so. I'm glad
Cool.
that they've done that, but they've taken that on. So my both my sons like their rock. We've gone. We're going to down to Portsmouth for the Victorious Festival to see Kings of Leon and who else is on there? Lots of other rock acts, effectively.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Very cool. Interesting to again get involved in the behind the scenes and the techie stuff.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, yeah. Don't want to be at the front. Thank you. I'm quite happy to shout at people and organise things and push boxes around, but not at the front. Thank you.
It's funny. I like to try and find similarities and connections, and I definitely connect with the idea of the techie side of things. I've done stuff in the past, also at uni actually, where it's been involved in helping run the societies or putting on an event, something like that, where it wasn't so much organization because I'm not that good with organization, but on the day support. I love that kind of thing because you're in the thick of it and you're helping,
Yeah, yeah,
but you're not that person right out front going, "This is the way. Hello, welcome." I couldn't be, like Mark
yeah,
just jumping on stage in front of everyone in his kilt. That isn't me. This is fine because it's you and me. That's easy.
yeah,
But the techie behind, one of the reasons I love streaming is because I love setting up the stream. Like the actual part of doing this is very enjoyable to me. So I
mm.
enjoy that as much as I do the actual talking to people. Um, so it's interesting. So the music side of things, do you play any instruments or has it been
I did. Drums. I used to play the drums again at the back. No, yeah.
But driving the band forward without the
Well,
drums,
yeah.
it's useless.
And I was never any good. My son was a lot. My youngest is a lot better than I am. And he's done it in a couple of choirs and bands, etc. So both of them are quite musical in that way. So yeah, it's rubbed off on them, thankfully. Not all with my doing, obviously. My wife's had a lot of input on that as well. So it's all good. He's so not anymore, but a closet drummer. But I wouldn't, like Chris Huntingwood has done in several places, get up on stage and do it anymore. I'm not that good. I know I'm not good, so I'd rather keep quiet about that one and let others get on the stage and rock out.
It's funny, actually. I was talking to Chris on this a few weeks back, and in that we did start talking about Drumeo videos on YouTube. I've fallen
Yeah.
down many a rabbit hole
Oh, so
watching
have
those.
I. Oh, so have I. The Some of the people, that when first heard videos and they try and copy it and things like that, I think
Yeah,
are absolutely amazing. And
yeah.
trying to replicate the sound. Sleep Token is my current favorite for that Drumeo of the Sleep Token drummer.
Ooh,
Is he called Two or something? Um, Sleep Token are a heavy metal band, but they
mhm.
all wear masks, that sort of thing. So
Right.
it's very much don't know who the drummer really is, but the way that he plays is just amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Something I show in Mark Christie. He's a bit of a rock head as well, isn't he? So
Yep. Yep. Very much so.
metalhead even.
I think there's a few metalheads in our tech
Mm,
community. It kind of fits the personality in many ways. I do enjoy actually these days for a long time actually punk rock has always been my flavor of choice. Uh,
yeah, that is mine to be honest. If I'm going somewhere, that would be mine. I love Idols. I love
mm,
soft play. I saw it on our um, Voodoo Voodoo Lounge, I think they were called.
mhm.
Absolutely brilliant. And this girl from Cumbria and her dad, and she was playing the drums like soft play with not stood up singing into the mic and playing drums, and he was playing guitar, and they were just like, this is a bit of me. This I really quite enjoyed that.
Nice.
And but yeah, I love punk,
Mm,
Frank Carter, Idols, that sort of modern stuff, as well as the older stuff as well.
yeah. Yeah, I just love the energy that that particular beat
Yeah.
gets. It's funny actually with my son, he's 6 and we don't play much music in the house. I think if anything, it's mostly podcasts or TV that are on around our house. And even in the car, quite often I'll be listening to a podcast when we're driving anywhere more than I'll be listening to music. But when I do put music on, he always connects more with things like Offspring and Green Day that have a
Mm,
regular beat.
mm.
He just seems to connect with that more than anything else. That and also,
Yeah.
strangely enough, George Ezra. I think it's because
Oh,
they played that at school. Like at one point, they played
yeah.
it at school, and he loves George Ezra.
I think that certainly with my kids, that they've got a totally different approach to absorbing music because it's all
Mm,
coming from TikTok,
yeah.
YouTube, Shorts, whatever else things that are going on and things that are famous. I remember my son bringing my son back from an event. I don't know what it was, and put Stone Roses on. You won't have heard this, and he was singing along. I'm like, where have you heard this? Oh, this TikTok video, and we want to be adored, and we were singing along to the words, and I was just thinking, how does he know this when it's 20 years older than he is?
Hmm.
And he knows every word. It's just incredible. but the whole album he's never heard. So
Yeah.
it's just like they'll dip in and out of it and absorb music, not like I used to do, which is buy a record and wear it down to, because you played it so much,
Yeah.
because you were allowed one album a month, and you're going to go and choose your CD wisely, like in my day.
Yeah. Treasured it.
But saying that, my son's just bought a record deck, so he's gone to vinyl
Hmm.
now. So he's just bought a load of vinyl and a record deck and speakers to go analog. So I don't know whether that's a flash in the pan or some new side quest for him, but he's really got into that sort of thing. The idea of listening to an album again is coming his way.
Yeah. It is interesting. I wonder where it's going to go with that because I know there's a lot of chatter about the modern generation, the younger generation, not having the ability to have an attention span because of all the social media and the way they engage with things. But I'm not entirely sure that that's true. I think how they interact with their content is definitely different. There is much more of it, so it's much easier for them to
Mm,
just like watch 2 seconds and think, "No, I don't want that." Flick over to something else, something else, something else. So I think there is definitely it's easier to get distracted, much easier to get distracted now.
yeah,
But I think if someone
but they've
actually,
got
hmm?
they've got choice.
Yeah,
Like you said, they can. I'm old enough to remember three channels and that was it.
mm,
And everyone was, if you didn't watch it at that particular time at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday or whatever it was, you didn't see it.
yeah,
That's it. That was there was no video back in my day, and then you did get video, and it was even watching films, the newest films, it was like, there was three versions of ET in your local store, and you had to wait until your turn.
yeah,
And the way that media is now consumed has really changed the world, really,
hmm,
because of the internet. Um, and it's so easy, but then they get so selective.
hmm,
Like you're saying, if they don't like it, they can find something else. If we didn't like it, and then there was no choice. It was, watching Newsnight on BBC Two instead, and that was your
yeah.
choices. So
I wonder if there's something in that. I wonder if it'll be interesting to see further down the line if that
mm,
means that the newer generations doesn't create as much. Because back in the day, if you were bored and there wasn't something to do, you might go and do it yourself.
yeah,
Whereas I don't know if that's the case now. But then at the same time, on the flip side, it's so much easier to do it yourself now. Like you could do this. You
yeah,
could literally
yeah,
just
yeah,
start up a stream, and within minutes, you're essentially talking to the internet. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you could be doing.
exactly.
Um,
And the same with all the shorts, etc. It's so
yeah.
easy for people to get involved.
Hmm.
I think that comes back to our community. That there is so many people that are not doing it the way that I do community
Yeah.
and doing it in a very different way that is reflective of consuming content has changed.
Yeah.
People putting stuff on TikTok, and people putting stuff on YouTube Shorts and things like that. It's never anything I'm going to consume as a professional or as a community member, but people embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
People
that's it.
want that sort of content. So it's a way of getting your people getting educating people.
Hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely is. Well, with that, we have come to the end. I do like to finish off with my rapid fire questions, so I will
Okay.
launch into those. Uh, and it's just first thought that comes to mind on the questions. So, favorite Power Platform service?
Uh, I well, I would go customer service. I've always had a soft spot for customer service because probably because it was the first one I did really.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the one for me.
Cool. Favorite conference? That's going to be a hard one.
This year, I would say no. Dynamics Minds has got to be up there as the best for attendees and for speakers.
Hmm.
In terms of content, EPPC was great.
Cool.
I was lucky enough to go to Ignite last year, and I'm going again this year. And
Oh, nice.
again, that's just another level up in terms of access to product groups, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've all got their own intricacies and vibe, but I love the UK ones. I love all of them really. I'm not sure I've gone to a bad one yet, but we'll wait and see.
Cool. It's funny on the
That
Dynamics
wasn't
Mind.
very quick. Sorry,
No,
that wasn't very
it's
quick.
fine. It's I like that. Dynamics
And I
Mind
don't want
has
to.
come up a few
I
times.
don't want to upset people by not including Colour Cloud and South Coast and Tallinn and all of them because people will be upset that I hadn't mentioned them.
No, because I said favorite. So you know
Yeah, yeah.
you're
Well, yeah. It's very selective. It's very
yes.
selective.
Last music you can remember listening to.
Fontaine's DC about half an hour ago.
Cool, cool. Podcasts or TV?
TV. I've got a
If you
book.
had 2 hours with no other responsibility, what would you do?
Um, Probably catch up on some sleep at the moment. I would suggest.
That's
Probably
perfectly valid.
code. I think that's still. I'd go and fix something or create something in code.
Nice, very nice. Books or audiobooks?
Books definitely. I can't do audiobooks.
And
Kindle.
right, yeah, Kindle specific.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny. I've got so many books on my Kindle, but I never read it because I don't sit down to read a book. I just don't do that. However, with my 6-year-old, I have. So we're now
Yeah.
about halfway through Harry Potter book
Oh,
3.
brilliant.
And
Yeah,
it's been
brilliant.
great. It's been really, really good. So I'm actually getting an excuse to get into reading and doing it in front of him with an actual book. No Kindle, an
Yeah,
actual
yeah.
book.
No, I do in some settings, but
Mhm.
I usually read before bed, so I can lie in the bed with the Kindle on, no other light distractions, and that sort of calms me down and goes from there.
Yeah, I mean it's such a convenient bit of technology that it's if you like to read, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Glass half full or half empty?
Always half full. Always positive about these things. Yeah, definitely, because there's always something to fill that up.
Cool. Well, Carl, thank you very much for joining me. That's been really, really, really
No, thank
enjoyable.
you.
And again, thank you for joining me on the busy day that you've had. uh,
No, thank you, Reese.
it's been very, very
See you
enjoyable.
soon. Cheers.
And good night to everyone. Goodbye.